Are you organizing information in your business like it's an 1850s railroad company? Oh, I bet you are. The dominant model of the last 125 years is top-down organizational design. Came out of the military and it's absolutely broken for the fast pace of an age of AI. I'm going to show you an alternative in this video. Hi, I'm John LaDuca. I'm the founder of Playbook Builder, an award-winning AI-powered learning platform. We're licensed by EOS worldwide, very popular in that ecosystem. I'm also the founder of the Wisdom Link, an intellectual capital development firm where we got to help top 1% income earners all over the US, UK, and Canada identify, package, and monetize their greatest asset and competitive advantage, the wisdom in their heads. Now, what I see happening for most small businesses, and we'll teach you in this video, is to actually escape from the trap of top-down organizational design. What we're going to do is examine it, its heritage, and also look at an alternative that we call wisdom-driven. See, most small businesses start out exactly the same way, with a founder who is a technical leader and then eventually finds out that they can no longer sustain the demands of the marketplace. They're so good at what they do, maybe this is like you, they end up hiring staff. And one day they go from swinging a hammer or doing the consulting to running the business and being the CEO. They have all of this technical know-how. They typically find that that capability, that genius inside of them, while valuable, it becomes a trap. You can't scale a business like that. They cannot sell a business like that. And on the day-to-day, there's no freedom, there's no leverage. Having to physically be in the room for all the major decisions is the bottleneck. So owner-led businesses in many regards have tremendous horsepower because that genius is well-earned. The problem is it's trapped in the head of the entrepreneur. I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like and how to get out of it. But before I do, let's take a little history tour. In the 1850s, management went through a major overhaul in the United States. The railroad and telegraph companies completely transformed the way information moved inside of companies. Why? Primarily because of the size of these organizations and the geography, the enormous amount of real estate they were covering. Previously, you had cottage industries, you had line-of-sight management, the sort of stuff you might be doing in your shop right now where I could look across over there, see somebody screwing up and walk over to them and give them some advice or coach and manage them better. But when you've got 5,000 employees spanning thousands of miles across the West, you just can't do that kind of management anymore. And so they realized they had some issues. Primarily, it was due to the fact that there were some railroad crashes, some real tragedies. And a fellow named Daniel McKellum, who was the president of the Erie Railroad, he decided to reinvent the way information was organized. And so McKellum looked at the org design structure and built the first organizational map, a top-down organizational model that would allow teams to drive information throughout their empire faster and more efficiently. Adding to it the telegraph, you had extraordinary speed of delivery of information. Still, though, top-down organizational design structured just like a military. This was the invention that led to modern organizational structures. The corporation and corporate models were organized where information would flow downhill. We still use it today. So here's my point. Top-down organizational design worked for the railroad and telegraph companies 125 years ago. Is fantastic. And it's primarily served most of small business and the economy since then. However, the pace of change, the dynamism of today, it's incompatible with the needs of a small business. You don't have a layer of management intervening on your behalf. You are dealing with dynamism and change at every turn, every quarter, it's something new. And if you want to sell that business and you are having to be there physically, you're not only a bottleneck, not only do you have to bring your laptop on vacation, but number two, you can't sell a business when you are instrumental in its daily operations. You have to decouple your physical body from the wisdom inside your head. And so if this is something that's registering with you, you're going to like the solution because it's going to give you freedom, scale, resilience, and most valuably, speed. Let's talk about it. Top-down organizational design is basically like a pyramid. Quarterback calling plays. You're up there at the peak of the pyramid, orchestrating, engineering, deciding. The problem with this is, if you've been with the company since its inception, if you were the tradesperson who stepped into the leadership role, you know what you're doing. You really know what you're doing. In fact, that whole organization was built around your unique genius, your capability set. Let's compare it to a runner. You're running a 6-minute mile. When you've got 4 or 5 people on the team and you bring them along with you and they're all fast runners, you're just gonna kill it. You're gonna go great. Everyone's on the same page. Maybe you all get a beer after work on a Friday and share stories. Everyone's aligned on values and swapping ideas, imprinting on one another, and the organization feels tight, it feels focused, and it feels agile. But then you get to 15 employees, 50 employees, 500 employees, and you know what happens? It gets frayed around the edges. No one's getting access to you like the good old days. They're not spending time with you, hearing about your heritage and values. They're learning from job descriptions. They're getting training manuals. They're getting a derived, watered down understanding of what's really essential in the organization. Top-down works as a military structure, but people are wired differently today. They need more about the why than just the how. And they're not just looking for a paycheck, they're looking for purpose and meaning. And so without access to you to light their fire, inspire, and motivate, they start to get a little wobbly around the edges. You've noticed this. You've also noticed you have to be in the room for major decisions. Some of the biggest sales have to be made because you close them. You have to be the person to orchestrate change and drive the new ideas. This limits the business, limits you. It's not scalable, it's not sellable, and it doesn't give you the time freedom so that you can be more strategic. You're dragged constantly into the fray. This isn't really a business, it's a shitty job with a crazy boss, and that's you. And so this top-down model is fundamentally broken. Around 2012, I was running an intellectual capital company, helping my ideal clients, they were top 1% income earners, harvest wisdom out of their head and turn it into a corporate asset. And we engineered this, the wisdom-driven enterprise. This isn't top-down, right? This is a wheel. The wisdom is now the center of the business, not the leader. And so the leader gets some separation. The wisdom becomes a corporate asset. And in addition to the fact that they no longer have to be the flywheel themselves, everyone can access this wisdom. Everyone can add to it, contribute to it, and participate in its further expansion. So it's not just top down anymore where you have to be the smartest person in the room. No. You're crowdsourcing best practices. Back in the 1940s, an economist named P.F. Hayek talked about the distinctions between the Soviet planned economy models versus a free market economy. You're looking at exactly the same idea. The model on the left, top down, that's you having to be the smartest person in the room and engineer the planning. Model on the right, that's a potluck. That's a meritocracy of good ideas. That's a free market, right? Because if somebody out there on the periphery has a better way of doing something, you can get it from them and turn their best practices into your corporate asset and then lift everyone up and upgrade their capabilities. This wisdom-driven model means you are agile, resilient, and expanding your capabilities as everyone on the team is aligned and participating. This model is one you can sell, you can scale, you can take a vacation. Let me make an important distinction. I'm not talking about this from a decision-making standpoint. I'm talking about it from an information access standpoint. Decision-making would suggest I'm talking about some sort of collectivism where everyone jointly decides what to do. No. We still need leaders. I still think it needs to be you. However, everyone in the organization needs to access what you know, your value system, your decision-making matrices. They need to know how to do their jobs like you would do their job. Think of the leverage if you had that. So let's be clear, this is not about decision-making. This is just about access to best practices. Okay, so if you're feeling trapped in your business, like you can't sell it, like you can't go on vacation and not be, bothered by the staff, if you feel like the people on your team increasingly are dumber than they used to be and that they need more and more oversight, guidance, and support, you're not alone. You're running a very different paradigm than your dad did, your grandfather, or preceding generations. Business is different. We have to tell the truth. The pace of change, the dynamism, attitudes about work, it's all changed on our watch. So we just can't run the same plays we did 100 years ago and expect outcomes. We have to look at this equation differently. Top-down organizational design worked for the era it was in. It does not anymore. You need to adopt a new model. We call it wisdom-driven. Now, part 2 of this video is I'm going to explain how to actually weaponize that wisdom, how to get it out of the heads of the people that have it, and how to use it for both client-facing experiences and internal operations. That's what this channel is designed to do, is to help you transform wisdom into a corporate asset. See me on the next video, and thanks for watching.